Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
A magic beyond anything you could ever imagine.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Sagrera Farms on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day.
You really think that's the best idea?
Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
It's quite a piece of work.
Hour 2, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We're brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef, officially working towards the weekend. Chris Blair coming up in 15 minutes. Verge Ausberry had some pretty pointed comments about Brian Kelly for USA Today. We'll talk about it in 30 minutes. He also talked about Lane Kiffin in that piece by Blake Topmeyer as well. So, again, we'll get to that at the bottom of the hour. Right now, let's hear from Jay Johnson yesterday as he met with the media. This is not really anything to do with this baseball season or tonight's game. It's honoring a couple seniors and then doing what they're going to do moving forward with this pitching staff. And it's such a fascinating question. I've been asked about this on Twitter. I've been asked about it in person. I've been asked about it on radio hits that I do throughout the week. I don't have a super good answer for how LSU could be last in the SEC in ERA, set a record for wild pitches, walk the most hitters in the league, and lead the league in strikeouts. It's so odd. Like, I've seen Missouri teams that have the worst ERA in the league. I've seen them. They come to the box, and they throw a bunch of 90-mile-an-hour fastballs, and they got a bunch of 5'11" lefties, and they go 6-24 in the league. I've seen the teams that are the worst ERA in the league. They usually don't have William Schmidt's fastball and spin rate. They usually don't have Maverick Rizzi's fastball. They usually don't have Ethan Plog and Santiago Garcia that throw 94 miles an hour from the left side. They don't have Kason Evans, who struck out 10 in a row against Little Rock and shut UCLA down in Omaha last summer. This team did. And I don't have a great answer for that when you add that they let in strikeouts. I can give some thoughts. I can tell you, I think they throw breaking balls too often, which oftentimes are not strikes, oftentimes create foul balls instead of balls in play, oftentimes run up pitch counts. I can tell you I think some of the fastballs are too flat, but they have a lot of juice on them. I can tell you that the misses are too big or that Guidry gets too much of the plate from the breaking ball. Like, there are just a lot of different factors, but it's still, even if you've watched all of it and you listen to what I have to say and you form your own opinions, you still have to admit there is a wild circumstance where you have a pitching staff that talented that shows the talent by striking out the most batters in the SEC and is still the worst pitching staff in the SEC. So Jay Johnson talked about a few things in that regard. The first was, do you think there will be adjustments made to pitch calling?
I have full confidence in Coach Yeski. I think I've said to all of you, I think he's one of the best pitching coaches in college baseball history, which the stats, the data, the draft picks, the winning all validate. I think if you asked him, he would wish, we were in a better spot, as I do, with this pitching staff. And we'll make some adjustments in totality of everything. But that's no different than, offensively, middle of the year, we needed to get out of some of the stuff I like to do and do what we needed to do for this group of players, which we have. And I just think that's part of coaching. If you try to run the same play on 3rd and 2 and you get a 2-yard loss, I would think most offensive coordinators wouldn't run it a 7th consecutive time, but I don't know. So it's just, everything that you don't do as well as you want to, you look at and you make adjustments, but no drama, in terms of that stuff.
I will probably do this segment again in 2 weeks. But I'll start with it here. There are going to be a lot of you out there that say you've got to fire Nate Yeski, get rid of Nate Yeski. Okay. But if you're going to assess his body of work, I'm not going to allow you to point to this team. You can say fire Coach Yeski. You can say that. I'm not going to allow you to say fire Coach Yeski. This pitching staff stinks. He didn't develop anybody. Schmidt didn't get better. Evans didn't get better. Rizzi didn't get better. Cowan didn't get better. Guidry didn't get better. Like, none of these guys got better, and that's Yeski's fault. And then you can't come back and tell me, well, Anderson's just awesome. Like, oh, well, you can't. Well, I mean, like, yeah, they got Ianson for 1 year. Like, how much credit can you get? Well, yeah, Shore's like pitched good for a month, but like, who cares? And like, Griffin Herring, like, yeah, I mean, sure, he one reliever that they had. Like, you can't just start picking away at everything else he's done. There have been a lot of guys who've gotten a lot better under Nate Yeskie. Cade Anderson got a lot better under Nate Yeskie. Anthony Ianson got a lot better under Nate Yeskie. Chase Shores got a lot better under Nate Yeskie. Christian Little got a lot better under Chase Yeskie. I've seen marked improvement from a lot of arms under Nate Yeskie. This group grossly underperformed. And I think this is my opinion. I can't back it up now because I'm going to need future data. I think this year is going to be an outlier where you just looked across the board at like 9 pitchers and it just didn't really take. I think that's going to be an outlier. We'll see. Time will tell. I may be proven dead wrong, but that's what I think about this year. Now, Jay Johnson talked about this team failing to make up for its pitching shortcomings in a way that at times last year's team was able to do when the pitching did falter. And that's what he's talking about when he says that LSU fell behind in a couple of Cade Anderson starts.
I look at it as like, can we support our flaws? And we have not supported them as well this year. And so we'll go back and look at all of them and try to do that. Like, I think losing Cooper Moore was a lot bigger deal than we tried to cover it with. You know, that was a big deal. Like, he was our best strike thrower. He was our most successful pitcher early in the season. You know, I firmly believe we would have won the series at Mississippi State, which might sound crazy because we got swept had Kaysen just pitched 5 or 6 innings instead of not being able to pitch. You know, like, there's been some unfortunate, deals, with that. We just haven't been able to cover ourselves as well as the really good teams that we've had.
And he talked about the team from last year, and I wrote about it at LouisianaSports.net. He's got a quote that said, we fell behind 5-0, 5-1, 6-1 a couple times in Cade Anderson starts last year, Mississippi State and Alabama. But you had bullpen guys that could come in and hold the rope, and then you had an offense that could chip back in and win it. And this team just hasn't been able to come together like that. And he talked furthermore about the slower development from the pitchers.
To be fair, like, we've asked a lot more of some guys than they had done maybe in the past. And, there's a growth part of this thing. I've mentioned before, like, I'll just use Kaysen as an example. Like, I mean, he pitched like 52 2/3 innings last year, but it might as well have been like 100, with getting ready in the bullpen with the leverage of those innings. But it's also not starting on Friday. And so there's a little bit of a learning curve, even though we want it like right now. That's part of it. Williams started on midweek games. Now he's starting on Friday in the SEC. So it's just part of it. Our job is to try to have the roster built, have the blueprint or platform to help navigate the challenges that you have. A guy like Devin, who's had some success, but he didn't pitch last year. You know what conference Mount St. Mary's is in. It's not this. And he's had some really good moments, and he's had some learning moments.
And I agree with him on the fact that you've got to get guys to develop and grow. I would also just push back and say you need to have somebody ready to go on Fridays in the SEC. You need to have somebody ready to go on Saturdays in the SEC. They may be guys who were closers last year. They may be guys who were midweek starters last year. They may be guys that pitched at Mount St. Mary's. They may be guys coming off injury. But, like, you need to have somebody ready. And LSU just did not get performance requisite with championship baseball from anyone on that pitching staff. And, again, I don't mean to throw Kaysen and William Schmidt under the bus on this deal because they've been among LSU's best pitchers. So they're clearly not the problem. The problem is that you didn't have anybody that looked like Cade Anderson, that looked like Luke Holman, looked like Gage Jump, looked like Alex Lang, looked like Paul Skeens, looked like Aaron Nola, looked like, all the guys that we've seen. You gotta have that guy. And LSU just didn't have that guy. They didn't have the closers that Evans and Cowan were last year either. It just has not come to fruition in that way. And it's been a disappointing year in a big way for this pitching staff that will finish the Southeastern Conference season with the worst ERA in the league. And that's unfathomable to me. It's very difficult for me to determine that LSU has a worse earned run average than Missouri and South Carolina. And when I look at the talent or lack thereof of that Kentucky staff, and you just look around the league, and for LSU to have the worst It's just hard to believe. Again, I feel like we'll look back at this and feel like it was just a Murphy's Law deal where everything that could go wrong did, that nobody really stepped up and developed, that your number 2 starter got hurt week 2 of the SEC, that your ace got scratched for 2 weeks. I think they didn't have the talent, and then I think their talent got chipped into, and then the development didn't happen, and it just fell apart. And that doesn't mean the same thing's going to happen next year. It does mean they need to get some new guys. They need new pitchers for next year. Not all new pitchers. I don't need the entire staff thrown out. I need new blood. And I think they're going to make every effort to do that. So we'll see how that all shakes out. But Jay Johnson has been willing to speak about the future over the last month, which I wouldn't have expected. He's been reasonably forthcoming about the present and this year. He's not going to give you everything because that's not how this works. You've got to have an idea internally of how to attack and not let the world know what's going on. And you certainly don't want to throw players under the bus routinely, which he could. He could come out and say, like, these 2 guys just haven't done what we've asked them at all. And he's not going to do that either. But it's just been very, very disappointing to sit there and watch this team fail to just make a lot of progress on the mound at all. So we'll hear some more Jay Johnson sound from tonight. Tomorrow, LSU in Florida tonight, 6:30 is the first pitch. You can listen to pregame tonight at 6 o'clock on the LSU Sports Radio Network. That's Eagle 98.1 here in Baton Rouge. It'll be Chris Blair and Buzzy Heidel on the call. Speaking of which, we'll talk to Chris Blair when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge, swingeasygcbr.com. Look, if you don't want to watch Tiger baseball and you'd like to mix some golf in this weekend, but you don't have a tee time, go over to Swing Easy. Got incredible individual bays with comfortable seating that you can hang out in, play Pebble Beach, play TPC Sawgrass. I bet they got Aronimink on that golf simulator as well. That's where they're playing the PGA Championship right now. You can watch golf on the televisions, drink some cold drinks, and play on the simulator. And you can win a spot in their league play that's coming up this summer if you text our text line, Swing Easy. One word, Swing Easy. Text it to 225-499-1045. You enter in at that point immediately to compete for a spot in their Scramble Indoor Simulator League that'll be weekly during the summer. Going to be a heck of a lot of fun, and we're looking very much forward to that. So, again, if you want to play, you grab a partner, you play in a Scramble. Swing Easy is what you text to 225-499-1045. That's Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Hunt Palmer Show coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown here in the capital city. We'll move along, talk some LSU baseball with Chris Blair. He'll be on the call tonight for LSU in Florida. Game 1 of a 3-game set to finish the regular season. Chris, thanks for the time. How are you?
I'm good. Looking forward to an exciting weekend. 2 of the big programs in the SEC. I know probably not where LSU wants to be right now, but it's always good. You know how it is. LSU and Florida get together in anything. It's always pretty exciting.
A lot of talent going to be on that field over the next 3 days. There's no question about that. Offensively, LSU threw the first punch in Athens, Georgia. 3-home-run inning, kind of took control early of that first game, and a lot of it was those young guys again. And what can you say about the youth movement offensively based on what we knew about this team in late February and where we are now?
Well, I mean, all you can do is be excited about what is ahead in the future and the valuable experience that these guys certainly have getting, and we've talked about it for a couple of weeks now that due to injuries and having to fill in some guys like Pearson and Stanfield, giving some other guys some opportunities. But when it comes to the young guys, I mean, I think of, I look back to last year's championship team, and you and I have had this discussion before on how many guys that were close to everyday guys that were returning this year. I look at what LSU hopefully will have returning, not with a national championship, but just with the experience of going through the toughest league in college baseball. And I think you got to be excited for the future and excited to watch them now, as excited as I will be later on tonight to see what the guys are able to do.
Let's talk about senior weekend, because there's a couple of guys that transferred in that'll be honored this weekend that have made massive impacts on this program in 2 short years, and that's Zach Cowan and Chris Stanfield. We'll see Zach at some point this weekend, and then hopefully in Hoover at some point next week. But what a crazy 2 years for him, and what an impactful year he's really had both years, but last year specifically.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's easy, Hunt, in days like today where you can easily just talk about this guy transferring to this place and this place, and it really takes over the conversation. Whereas I look at two guys, especially as you pointed out, Zach Cowan and Chris Stanfield, who I think are considered Tigers, not only because they were part of a championship team last year, but they made the transfer, had the opportunity to come play here, and I think have embraced it with open arms. I mean, you talk to Zach, you talk to Stanfield. I mean, they love being here at LSU. And what they've contributed obviously speaks for itself. So those two guys in particular, it's going to be a mixed bag because I hate to see them play their final game, but it's great to see them be honored, for the 2 years that they had here at LSU. And then you get a little more into it with a guy like Jake Brown, who unfortunately suffered the season-ending and career-ending injury, at least at LSU, who's meant so much to the program, who obviously it's evident if you spend any time around Jake what it means to wear that uniform. And certainly we look forward to him doing great things in another uniform here very soon at the professional level. But baseball to me has always been a little different, and I know it's somewhat changed now for, the transfer portal, but I think this group that they'll honor this weekend, playing their final time, it's going to be emotional for the fans. Obviously, Jay's talked about it this week, and for those of us who have been around them. But it's a great weekend. I'd love to see them go out winners, and especially beating Florida. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that.
And look, you spend a lot of time in press boxes and around scoring tables, and you know that when you win a national championship around here, you're connected to the place forever. And even in an era where guys move school to school, when you win a title here, you're welcome back for forever and ever. Even if you don't, you are in some circumstances. But those guys, although this year didn't go very well, they'll be back at the box for many years to come, I'm sure, because we see players all the time up there.
Yeah, no, I say it all the time. I mean, when you win a championship like that, and when you ingrain yourself to a fan base, whether it's a championship or just a team that really played well or were memorable and had great moments, I think that always is going to be different than the other way of looking at it. And I have no doubt whatsoever that those guys consider themselves LSU Tigers. And years from now, it will be their choice to come back or not come back. It won't be because of the fans. The fans will welcome them with open arms wherever they see them.
And then Derek Curiel and Stephen Milam are guys that are not seniors as well, but will likely play their last games in Baton Rouge over the weekend. Those two guys, and your impression of how they've played for 2 and 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you want. I mean, and you hear Coach Johnson say it a lot. When you talk about Jake Brown and you talk about Derek Curiel, albeit 2 years, and Stephen Milam with 3 years now, part of that real important development piece. I mean, obviously they were great talents when they got here. But I thought Milam was a really good shortstop his freshman year. In fact, I was, wowed by the way he played, his fundamentals, his footwork, all of that. But to watch him now, I mean, it doesn't get any better at the shortstop position defensively than Stephen Milam. So, I think it also goes, and Jay's kind of talked about it the last couple of weeks. You've got to find that fine line. If you've got positions that you need an instant answer for, that's what the transfers portal is for. But when it comes to bringing in raw talent that, again, had chances to play pro ball, wanted the college experience, to keep them on campus for 2 or 3 years and watch them develop, still means a lot to a program. And I still think moving forward, that is the recipe for LSU to maintain its level at the top of the sport.
This may be Marcos Paz's last outing of the season, depending how things go in Hoover. He'll get a chance to face this Florida lineup. It's kind of an audition for him entering the offseason to make one more impression in live action with this coaching staff. How big an outing is it for him, and what do you expect from the young freshman tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it is important, and I think for the reasons you just laid out there. I think there's probably going into next year, certainly fall ball. I got to believe, and again, I don't have any information. I'm just assuming, reading between the lines, that everybody's going to want to know from the coaching staff, do we have what we think we have? And I think it goes a long way for Marcos if he's able. And again, I think he's done well considering the fact that, as Jay said during the media session earlier this week, there's a lot of guys who now are becoming mainstays, whether it be on the pitching staff or in the position on the field, that are doing a lot more than they really. I'm sure they love it, but it wasn't what they were expecting. The load they were going to have to carry, and certainly that's true from the coaching staff's perspective. But I think it's an opportunity to show. Yeah, we've seen the improvement. We've seen him come off of the Tommy John surgery, miss an entire year plus of baseball, come in and make the transition from the high school level, albeit in Texas, to not just college baseball, but SEC baseball, and to go out there and show no fear and at times really show what the potential will be. And I think that's what they're looking for this weekend. And I expect to see it because I think he understands the position he's in. To go into next year as one of the guys they're going to count on, possibly as one of the aces for the weekend. Can you do it all this weekend? No, but you can take some major steps forward and then throw that on top of what we've seen throughout this season. And I think that puts him in a good spot when he returns in the fall.
You're with Jay Johnson every Monday on the Coach's Show. You do a pregame interview for every broadcast. You've been around him a couple hours a week every week for now 13 weeks or so. So what do you think he's learned from this year, which has obviously been one of the toughest of his coaching careers?
I think it's probably affected him. And again, that's not inside information. I just think it's affected him more, as he went on with a very thoughtful answer with the media earlier this week about, making the most out of a situation that you don't like being in. If he could do it over, I'm sure he'd love to go back to February and start the season over. But you can't do that. So you got to make something out of it. And one thing I've learned about Jay Johnson is he doesn't waste an opportunity to improve, whether it's get better, and even if you're the number one team in the land, even if you're struggling like they are this year. And I think he's the kind of guy that researches a lot. Like he's interested in how people work, how they react, how they tick. And he's even mentioned this year, he's changed some of the things for this particular team. I don't think he's going to necessarily change the way his philosophy in coaching, but he understood there were different ways of handling this group of players. And I think he'll only be a better coach because of that. And as he said, if you can't make this miserable season give you something out of it, positive, something to learn from, something to improve on, then all you've done is sit around and be miserable for 2 months or whatever the case may be. So I think that's the biggest impact that it's had on Coach Johnson, and nobody works harder than he does. So that's why this, to me, is a complete anomaly. And, as I've said, you've heard it 1,000 times, and I still stick by it. And Jay, we trust. I think he's the best coach in college baseball. I don't think he rests on his laurels. I don't think he's the type of guy that says, this is how I do it. I've won 2 championships in 3 years, so this is the only way we're going to do it. I don't see that at all. And that's what I think makes a great coach and a great leader on top of coach. Forget that. Just a great leader. Take the situation you're in. How do you maximize it? And if you get another chance second time around, you should have learned something the first time, and you should improve.
6:30 first pitch tonight from the box, 6 o'clock pregame show. Chris Blair on the LSU Sports Radio Network. That'll be on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. Have a great call tonight, Chris. I'll see you up at the box this weekend.
Let's have fun. See you there.
He's Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers. He will be again on the mic tonight for game 1 of a 3-game set between the Tigers and Gators. Verge Ausberry gave a pretty spicy quote to USA Today about his former head coach and about his current head coach. We will talk about that from a football perspective when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Maruccisports.com is the website. What a gem we've got here in Baton Rouge. I know that a lot of those springtime seasons for baseball and softball are coming to an end. If you're on the travel ball circuit, it seems like it never ends. I get that as well. But if you do have a season that's coming to a close and you've got a youth baseball player, youth softball player that wants to keep improving during the off-season months, keep working at it, become a member at Marucci. 24-hour access to their cages, to their pitching mounds, right there in the indoor. Doesn't matter the weather, doesn't matter the sunlight, doesn't matter the temperature. You can have access to it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week if you're a member at Marucci. What a cool environment that is there that they've got access to. And look, if you want to go take a tour of the official bat of Major League Baseball where it's produced, 1,200 of them every single day, you can do that as well. Get tickets at maruccisports.com/campus-tour. Every single ticket to the campus tour comes with a 20% discount in the campus tour store and in the hitter's house. Just a total gem, the home of the official bat of Major League Baseball, in a spot your kid can work on his or her game. It's Marucci.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Happy to tell you about my friend Jonathan Carbo and the team at the Highland Insurance Group. They're online at highlandig.com, highlandig.com. If you're looking for employee benefits for your business, you're not happy with your current premiums, you're not happy with your current benefits, you feel like you may be losing talent or not acquiring the talent you need in your organization because your benefit structure is poor, the Highland Insurance Group's happy to help you. There's a certain carrier down here in South Louisiana that's consistently bumping those rates year over year over year. It becomes a huge problem on the bottom line of your business. They know that at the Highland Insurance Group. They can give you another option. They've got multiple options there. They're an independent broker that can shop your business to multiple carriers to see if they can't find the best health care, the best dental, the best vision at the right price for your business. So if you've got a renewal coming up or you just had a renewal that didn't go very well, or you just want a second set of eyes on your benefit structure within your organization, let the Highland Insurance Group take a look. They're online at highlandig.com. You can reach out to them right there. They're based here in Baton Rouge, but they can help you out statewide. It's the Highland Insurance Group. They're online at highlandig.com. All right, y'all, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I'm just going to be me. I'm going to tell you how I feel. I hate this crap, candidly. I like talking about sports. I like talking about the action on the field. I want to talk about Aiden King's pitch mix tonight at the box. I want to talk about how LSU gets these Florida hitters out. I want to talk about regional projections, and I want to talk about RPI, and that stuff's gone. And this is more polarizing stuff, and this is what most of you want to hear about. This is the stuff most of you want to sink your teeth into. It's just not in my DNA. But Verge Ausberry talked to USA Today, and I'll tell you what he said, and I'll give you my thoughts on it, because this will be the most polarizing LSU topic today. This will get more attention than anything LSU does at the box tonight, and that's just the way this world goes round. But here's Verge Ausberry to Blake Topmeyer of USA Today. He's talking about Lane Kiffin here when he says he's not one who will say, okay, I don't want people to contact me. I don't want people to touch me. I don't want people to be around me. That's who we had. That's why we got what we got. There was no feel. There was no connection between LSU football program, the coach, and the fans. So that's suggesting that Lane Kiffin is an open book. He's able to reach people and connect with people, and Brian Kelly couldn't. That's what Verge Ausberry is saying. And Verge Ausberry knows a lot better than me. He knows a lot better than me. He played football at LSU. He's worked at LSU for 3 decades. He's got a personal relationship with Brian Kelly. He's got a personal relationship with Lane Kiffin. He's in that facility every day. He knows a lot better than me. My gut tells me, this is my gut, and I just told you that Verge Ausberry knows a lot better than me. My gut tells me that Brian Kelly did his part to create some of these questions and that they've been exacerbated over time. That's what my gut tells me. Because when I see the internet ablaze that Brian Kelly's playing 200 rounds of golf a year, and I'm very confident in the people that I'm talking to that he did not, that makes me roll my eyes. When he's talking, Brian Kelly said this, I was getting drunk in my office, and I'm talking about he was drinking all, like, I think the guy had some wine, probably had some cocktails. Not the first or the last football, basketball, baseball, track, tennis, golf head coach to have a little bit of alcohol. I don't know how good his relationship was with former players. There are 2 that do the morning show here every day. They can tell you better than I can. But when LSU was awesome right out of the gate and beat Bama, I didn't hear that Brian Kelly had closed the doors to all the players. And when Jaden Daniels won the Heisman, it was Matt House's fault that they weren't any good. And like now that he's been fired, it just feels like the house is caving in. I am not here to tell you that Brian Kelly did everything right at LSU. He did not. He didn't. I'm also not here to tell you that he was drunk every day, played 200 rounds of golf, and didn't talk to a single booster the whole time he was here. As far as I know, they spent like $20 million on the football roster last year. He had to have been involved in some sort of booster relations. None? There was a story Ross Dellinger did that he contacted folks in California and he donated $1 million. I realize that's not a personal touch. That's just a donation, but I'm not here to defend Brian Kelly. I'm just here to tell you my gut tells me we may have been exacerbated. Now, look, if Verge Ausberry, who's in that building every day, I'm not, is telling me that Lane Kiffin's doing a much better job right now, great. I hope he's doing awesome. I hope he's talking to all the boosters. I hope they're raising unbelievable amounts of funding. I hope the former players feel incredibly welcome coming back. I hope all that's true. I'm also confident that the former players felt real confident and comfortable coming back when Ed Ogeron was here and the bottom fell off the last 2 years. So it's not the end-all be-all. You just got to win games. And if Brian Kelly had won games, he'd still be the coach here. He's not the coach here because they couldn't beat Florida State, because they couldn't beat Ole Miss, because they couldn't beat Florida. He's not here because they couldn't stay on the field with Texas A&M at home. That's why he's not here. So I'm not that interested in recounting the past. I'm really not. I'm more interested in what's coming in the future. Lane Kiffin has never gotten the reputation of being a very booster-involved guy. He didn't have to be at Tennessee or USC because you didn't have the situation you do now where you got to raise money for the players. Ole Miss certainly raised a ton of money while he was there. I think a lot of folks believe Walker Jones running that collective had a lot to do with that, and Kiffin did a lot with evaluations of finding Keywan Lacey and finding Trinidad Chambliss and finding Trey Harris and getting those great defensive players that they brought in with Trey Amos and with principally Uman Mielen, and like he did a great job of that. I've never known his reputation to be a guy that's at all the cocktail parties and that's rubbing elbows with all the boosters and really beating the streets to raise the money. Now, I have no question about his work ethic in recruiting. None. I watched it in the portal. He's flying all over the place. Levitt leaves, he flies, goes to see him in Knoxville. Seton leaves to go to Atlanta, he's there. I have no questions about that whatsoever. But the thing with the boosters, that would be a new thing for Lane Kiffin. And look, Lane Kiffin would not be the first guy to get a dream-ish job, certainly when he feels at the pinnacle of the sport, one that's above the one he just left at Ole Miss. He believes that. Whether the people in Oxford do, or the people in Chicago or L.A. do, or whether people in Birmingham do or Baton Rouge do, that Lane Kiffin believes LSU's a better job than Ole Miss. That's why he left. He would not be the first guy to feel like he had reached the top of his profession and feel like, hey, this is my chance. Let's freaking go. And kick it into a gear he had never thrown it into before. That would not be something new. Now, you want to turn that back on Brian Kelly and say, well, he got to a spot where he got so much money, he didn't care anymore. That may be true. I just don't know. I'm not willing to sit here and do the show where I completely cast aspersions on Brian Kelly start to finish when I don't know those details. I'm not in his office. I'm not monitoring his phone calls. I'm not looking in his Tumbler cup. I'm not on the golf course. I don't know. I'm not going to trash the guy. It's an easy show to do. I promise I could do it. I promise you I could do it. This guy cashed a check, came in here, didn't care, didn't try, hired Matt House. That guy stinks. Wasn't at practice, played golf all the time, was over in Destin on the boat drinking red wine. This guy didn't care at all. He cashed out on $100 million. He did not give a rip about LSU. He didn't. I promise I can do the show. I have that. I have that club in the bag. I choose to let mothballs grow on the club. I think that's a ridiculous way to do a show when you don't really know. Now, if you were there and you know, fire away. I'm not doing it. I'm here to talk about Lane Kiffin. And I'm more interested not in Verge Ausberry saying that Brian Kelly wasn't involved in alumni relations and former player relations. I'm more inclined to talk about Verge Ausberry and Lane Kiffin and his alumni relations and his former player relations. And what I'm more interested in is Lane Kiffin winning some football games and beating Clemson and recruiting and locking down guys in the state and making that stuff happen. It all is part of the job. And I'm not there to monitor it every single time. I can tell you explicitly about Lane Kiffin's first drives over a 12-game season. I can tell you about his recruiting classes based on national ranking. I can tell you what his season was in terms of success or failure based on wins and losses. Stuff that goes on behind closed doors, I'm not here to rant and rave about. Verge gives the quote. I'm not here to call him a liar at all. I'm just here to tell you that I don't know. Verge, and I told you at the top of the segment, he knows better than me. I'm more interested in the future of LSU's football program as opposed to the recent past. I'm hopeful about the future of the LSU football program. I think they hired a really good coach that's going to win a lot of games. Hopefully, he's taking things extremely seriously with alumni relations. He welcomes former players. And look, you'll hear about it on this channel. You'll hear about it on my pre- and post-game show on the network this fall with Marlon and Brandon. Those guys know. I can piggyback off of them. But I just don't love the off-the-field gossip nonsense. And I, again, don't see a ton of benefit in that quote there from Verge. It's his department. He can do whatever he wants. I didn't think Lane Kiffin should have gone on Vanity Fair. I realize I'm in the business of commenting on this, and these guys are feeding me content while my baseball team's been driven off a cliff here. But I don't love it. It's just not my favorite thing. Never will be. Let's come back and close it out next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
First American Bank and Trust. First American Bank and Trust, FABT.com, FABT.com. They're giving away 500 flags. 500 flags at First American Bank and Trust coming up on Saturday. You'll know Memorial Day is right around the corner, and First American Bank and Trust wants this part of the world that they're so proud of to be as patriotic as possible. So that's why they're hosting their Let Freedom Fly event coming up next Wednesday. Sorry, I said Saturday. Next Wednesday, May the 20th, 7 a.m., First American Bank and Trust, downtown in Dutchtown. They're giving away 500 American flags completely free. Just go by and see them right here before Memorial Day. If you want one of those awesome 3x5 full-size flags, that is a mouthful. 3x5 full-size flags. Go by and see them in Dutchtown. First American Bank and Trust, May 20th, 7 a.m. It's their Let Freedom Fly event. They're online at FABT.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Thursday show is brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. I will give you Sean Sagrera's number at the end of this read. I just highly recommend you give him a phone call. He's doing something really special just north of Baton Rouge here in Ethel. He's raising some of the best beef in the country. I give you that intermuscular fat score all the time. If you're talking about 1 through 3, 4 on that schedule, that's the bottom of the barrel. That is your select. 3 to 8. That's your choice. That's 60% of the beef that is out there. Talking about 9+, that's prime. Sean's got cows on his farm right now that are 9, 12, 15, 17, 19. He has cows that are twice the standard of prime. It's a completely different experience in buying your beef. If you're not happy with the price tag when you go buy beef, well, do it differently. If you're not happy with the quality of the beef that you're buying, do it differently. If you feel like you're paying a premium price for a poor product, pay that price for a premium product like Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. It's prime every single time, and if you don't like it, you don't pay for it. Father's Day is coming up. You want to get a freezer full of delicious ribeyes, fillets, flank steaks, chuck steaks, briskets, ground beef, all of it. You can do that, my friend Sean Sagrera. 225-719-1723. That's 225-719-1723. Sagrera Farms brings you our Thursday shows each and every week. Rory McIlroy did not play very well today. He shot a 4 over 74. He was asked about his round in his postgame press conference, and I can give you the entire quote, paraphrased. Well, no, not paraphrased, the exact quote, but I can't say it on the air. He said, "What do you think about your round?" And he said a 4-letter word that starts with S. That was the entire quote. That's what he thought of his round. So the Masters champ, not out of it by any stretch of the imagination. It's a day that scoring has not been easy at all at Aronimink. Aldrich Potgieter, Steven Yeager, and Minwoo Lee are leaders in the clubhouse at 3 under par. So Rory just 7 shots off the pace, and nobody seems to be separating. It's been a really good day of golf at Aronimink, and we'll keep you updated on some scores tomorrow as we get closer to the weekend. I'm excited to watch this weekend at a cool course there outside of Philly. But Rory McIlroy, not thrilled with his performance today, obviously. Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
All right, Hunt, it must be Groundhog's Day because Georgia's safety, Jamarlee Riddle. Yes. Jamarlee Riddle was arrested on May 8th on a pair of felony charges for possession of controlled substance and a misdemeanor speeding charge going 100 miles an hour. According to police reports, Riddle, who is a new transfer to Georgia after playing his first 2 seasons at East Carolina. So, Hunt, is this the initiation process to join the Georgia football team? Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. He's good to go
I'll
now.
take it.
He's
Good
good
to
to
go.
go in Athens. He can suit him up. His locker's probably fully stocked now. The shoulder pads
Yep.
are all there. He can
NIL
play.
came through?
I have been to Athens like 4 times.
Yes.
I don't know where you go 100 miles an hour in Athens. It's a tiny little town that's got a bunch of street. I just don't. What do they do? I don't know.
They find somewhere to do it
They
because
find somewhere.
it's every other month it's somebody else. So
Nope.
yesterday we spoke about my guy Kyle Riley. So the Seattle Mariners placed Kyle Riley on the 10-day injury list Thursday morning for right oblique strain, the first time he's been on the IL stint in his 6-year career so far. This comes off after him washing off the bad mojo, ending his 0-38 hitless streak on Tuesday night. So did Riley not wash off the bad mojo? Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. He got a hit, so that means he did. He figured some things
Figured
out.
something
But
out.
unfortunately, he got the oblique strain. Not going to be a 60 home run year for
Not
the
a
big
close.
dumper this year. But he hopefully can get healthy, come back and swing the bat. Big expectations in Seattle.
Yeah.
I keep monitoring Cade. I don't think they're going to call Cade up from AA this year, service time and whatnot. There have to be a lot of injuries, or they feel like they need him for a pennant race. The Rays did that with David Price, who was their top prospect at one point. They brought him up. They actually got to the World Series that year. He came out of the bullpen for him.
Okay.
But I don't think that's going to happen with Cade at this point. But that's my main Mariners interest at this point.
He's on fire. And every day Jimmy talks about how Castillo is stinking it up, and they might need to call him up. But, you got a good point right there. So the NFL full Thanksgiving slate has been released, leaked, whatever you want to call it. This is what's going on.
The Egg Bowl. That's what we want. We want the Egg Bowl, not the NFL.
Well, do we really want it now because it's Pete Golding?
Yes,
Egg
I
Bowl?
want the Egg Bowl. I like the Egg Bowl.
Okay, it's Pete Golding and all that. But on Thanksgiving Eve, the first one in history, this new Thanksgiving Eve.
Wednesday night football.
Wednesday night football, Packers versus Rams. So on Thanksgiving, the 12 p.m. slate, Bears versus Lions. The 3:30 slate, Eagles versus Cowboys. 7:20, Chiefs versus Bills. And then Black Friday to wrap it up at 3 p.m., the Broncos versus the Steelers. So is the Thanksgiving slate loaded? Take it or leave it.
I will take it. That is very good football. I can't promise you how much I'll catch of that. What's my Thanksgiving this year? My Thanksgiving is Shreveport this year.
Okay.
There's going to be some golf involved in that. And
Definitely the Cowboys out in Shreveport.
Yeah, there'll probably be some Cowboys. But there'll be some chocolate pie and some card playing, beverages. If the game's on in the background, that's good. But those are primetime matchups. Those are teams that should be very, very good. I get it.
No, most definitely. Thanksgiving Eve, I guess this is new. We're just doing this
Got to
Thanksgiving
play
Eve
on a
thing,
Wednesday.
man.
Got
Like,
to. Why not?
Next thing you know, we're going to have Tuesday now.
No,
So
yeah. Why not? Just play every night.
every night,
Like the MAC. NFL is like the MAC.
we need that. I would kill for a bad MAC game right now. That's how much I need football. So you're right.
Oh, you're a football guy like that? Gotta
I'm
have it?
fiending right now, hon. That's it for take it or leave it, but I'm fiending right now. for football.
I hit that point like August 12th.
Really for football?
I've seen like 8 LSU practices at that point. I'm seeing the same thing over and over again. All right, let's go. Something like Hard Knocks starts ramping up.
Yep.
I get the fever. I love football. I do.
Yes.
I don't.
You're a baseball
I can't
guy, though.
sink into it in May.
Yeah.
I don't, because you burn too hot.
Yes.
If you start burning hot in May, Like if your engine's overheating, like you're gonna be boiling over in July 9th.
Oh no, you're gonna be ready for that the Hall of Fame game. You're gonna be like, oh my God, yeah, you're going crazy. Yes,
Jimmy, don't bet on the Hall of Fame game this year.
You know it's coming.
Jimmy.
It's coming
That's
every
it for
year.
us. Missed any of the show today, catch it on demand. LSU in Florida tonight. We're reacting to it tomorrow, plus the Saints schedule. You can read all about it at louisianasports.net. Matt's going to drive you home next on After Further Review. I'm out of here. Have a good Thursday. Back same time, same place tomorrow.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC, FabryChevrolet.com, FabryChevrolet.com. They've got great new vehicles. I tell you about that all the time. On the Chevy side, they've got the Chevy Silverados, they've got your Tahoes, they've got your Suburbans. On the GM side, they got Sierras, Yukons, Denali's. Like, they've got a lot of new cars. They also have an amazing selection of certified pre-owned vehicles that are lightly used in great condition, and you can search those online at FabryChevrolet.com as well. I just highly suggest you go by and see them on Highway 61 in St. Francisville. It's a short drive from here in Baton Rouge. You can get up there pretty quickly, and you'll get that customer service that you always want in an auto dealer, and you'll see what they've got on the lot. You can get behind the wheel of some of those certified pre-owned vehicles and see what works for you. If you got a big family vacation coming up and you want to get all the kids together in the SUV, you can try it out at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. Take that short drive up to St. Francisville and see them on Highway 61. You can always, always, always find the website as well, FabryChevrolet.com, FabryChevrolet.com.